Holiday season, maybe you're looking to take a different approach to drinks you're serving by taking matters into your own hands. If you've ever wondered what it takes to brew your brew, we've got you covered. Joining us this morning is co-owner and master brewer for Old Nation Brewing Company, Travis Fritz. Thanks a lot for coming in this morning.
Thanks so much for having me.
So let's get to Old Nation first. I know you guys have like a stable of beers all year, and then you rotate kind of seasonals in and all that. How do you choose what beers to kind of put on the menu?
Well, it really depends. Sometimes it is a great raw material that comes in seasonally. Sometimes it is just a great idea that we can't wait to put out. Grapefruit B43 is a great example of that
Sounds
one.
good.
Yeah, so generally it comes from all different places and we don't discriminate. If it's a good idea, we'll do it.
Now, what's your day like as a master brewer? I picture you carrying like big bags of hops and pouring them into a vat. Like, is it something like that?
It is. I'll be careful because the guys who actually do this work at Old Nation are watching, so I don't want to take too much credit.
Okay.
But generally, it's, wake up early in the morning. You're working with grain in big 55-pound bags. It's wet. You're mixing it with water. It's hot. It's steamy. You're heating up this liquid that will become beer. But really what it's like is constant record keeping, constant note taking, constant attention to the product from the beginning to the end of the process. It usually takes all day to make a batch of beer.
Yeah, it's quite a process, and it's often not thought about when we crack a can of beer. We don't have to do the work, so we don't know what it's all about. Now, talk about something we see in a lot of your products. It's the IBU. What does that mean?
So that means International Bittering Units, and it's almost a movable metric, right? But generally, the higher the IBU, the more sensation of bitterness you get in the beer in order to balance the sweetness from the malt. Okay,
that's nice and simple. Now, you've got a few samples in front of us. You already mentioned this grapefruit. I'm always curious about this because I like these because I got a little bit of a sweet tooth. Tell us about what it takes to brew that. Do you actually put like real grapefruit rind or something into it?
Well, we're taking the oil as an extract from the grapefruit rind. And I think a lot of people know this, but that's where the real smell of any citrus fruit is. And it's the aroma that we're most concerned about with this beer. As an added benefit, it gives great flavor too.
It sure does. Now, I know this is probably asking a tough question because you take so much pride in all of these, but do you kind of have a favorite beer that you make?
I do. Right now it would be the Rubicon, honestly. I like beer that really tastes like classic beer, and this is definitely one of those.
And that's kind of an Italian, what is that, Italian style?
Italian style Pilsner, which is a German style with a little extra hops at the end, just a touch.
Just a touch.
Yeah.
Now, Old Nation is so much more than beer. You also have an extensive food menu. Do you kind of offer pairings as well with the beer?
We do. Certainly your server can suggest different pairings when you come into our place in Williamston to have a bit to eat. But what we like to do is describe the beer, describe the food, let folks make their own decision. But certainly if they need some help, we're happy to help them.
Well, that's good. Or you can sample a number, right?
And that is what we hope.
Now, one thing we kind of were talking about earlier this morning is if you want to, I don't know why you would because you got Old Nation, but if you want to brew your own beer at home, many people do this. Do you have a few tips for them being a master brewer yourself?
Sure. Well, making a batch, generally it's 5 gallons of beer at home, is not too complicated. As long as, for example, if you've done any canning, it's a really easy thing to get into because ultimately keeping things sterile is what's important so that fermentation can happen with just yeast and no outside bacteria. Outside of that, honestly, making beer is a lot like making bread. It just takes longer and it involves more water.
Involves water, a lot of water. Yeah, out of curiosity, how long does it take to make a batch of brew, or does it depend on what you're making? If you're making an IPA or if you're making this grapefruit, or what's a general time length?
It does. Lagers, which is the kind of beer that people are used to, take much longer. Lager is a German word for the store. So these guys will take about 6 weeks front to back. Your ales, B43, M43, etc., those will usually take somewhere around 14 days. So it's a difference about 4 weeks or so, depending on which beer you're brewing. But to answer your question, between 2 and 6 weeks.
2 and 6 weeks,
Yep.
Okay. Now, we should also mention you are big in the community and big on giving back. Talk about that.
Well, we live in a beautiful small town called Williamston, Michigan, and it is a wonderful community with people who support each other, and we love to take our role in that. That is often paying off delinquent lunch bills for the school at the end of the year, providing Christmases for families that can't provide it for themselves. We generally do 30 to 35 families a year, and also donating directly to the school through our own work primarily, and through other organizations. Our primary charitable organization that we donate to is called Weekend Survival Kits. They've since been taken over by a different company who's doing that great work in Wayne County, Eam County, providing kids enough to eat over the weekend and when they're home if they don't have any food at home.
Yeah, it's so nice to be able to give back to the community that you're actually located in. Now,
yes, sir.
Just overall, talk about the craft brewing business and how far it's come in the last, decade and a half, because it's really exploded.
It really has. We saw several different waves. We saw a wave in the late 80s that a lot of folks missed. We saw a wave in the late 90s that sort of crested and crashed in the early 2000s, and we're right in this big third wave where everything is sort of new and being figured out. So the length of time that craft beer has developed has been about 20, 30 years, but certainly in the last 5 or 10, it's absolutely exploded, and we're super excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, super excited. But it's got to be a tough market as well. I mean, every corner I turn on, there's hey, brew pub, right?
Yeah, it's fun. I think brewers really love each other. We love to get along. I sit on the board of the Michigan Brewers Guild, but it is a trench fight, I won't lie.
Yeah, all right. Well, at least you're all getting along,
right?
Over a few beers, I'm sure. Travis, thanks a lot for coming in this morning.
Thank you so much,
Appreciate it. The Old Nation Brew Pub, that's where you want to go to get some of these fine products.